Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlena. Thanks for wandering by. Welcome back to Deck and Walk 2023. It's almost the end of 2023, but we're still going to be calling the Deck and Walk that even as we turn into the new year, because this Deck and Walk spans from Aries season to Pisces season. So we're going from March to March. Anyway, welcome back. The Deck and Walk, if you want to know more, is a practice that I started, like I said, in March of this year. We've been walking through the zodiacal wheel of the year, following each of the 12 zodiac signs that are split into 3 pieces, each called decans or faces. And these decans take up 10 degrees or 10 days of time. And each one of the decans is also associated with a minor card in the tarot, from the minor cards from 2 to 10. So we're following Western traditional astrology and the associations as laid down by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So I haven't done that full explanation in a minute, but anyway, if you want to know even more, please visit my description box below, where you'll find a playlist of all of the decan videos that I have created since March. Now we're turning over into a new sign. So we're in a new zodiac sign. We're in the 10th zodiac sign. We are coming close to the end of the Decan Walk, and we're at the end of the calendar year. But anyway, all of that to say that I want to introduce the next zodiac sign and talk a little bit about that before we get into the tarot and the decan card itself. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about Capricorn. So here we are in Capricorn season. This is the Capricorn card taken from this deck, the Star Codes Astro Oracle. And as always, I leave extensive links in my description box below, where you can find everything that I'm showing off here. So we're taking just a bit of a beginner's cursory look at the zodiac sign of Capricorn. I have one family member who I adore, who is a Capricorn, but beyond that, I don't really know. I know my family member and love them, but I don't really know a whole lot about the sign of Capricorn. So this is a real beginner's dive into the idea of Capricorn. So we have, like I said, this card from the Star Codes Astro Oracle, and the key word on this card is achieve. And as I was doing my reading, I was, discovering that Capricorn is associated with striving forward, moving forward, with being dependable and loyal and motivated, ambitious. And so that has a lot to do with the goat fish or sea goat character that we often see associated with Capricorn. It's the half goat, half fish creature. That's also associated with the Greek myth of the god Pan, who I believe in the myth, he was trying to escape from the Titan Typhon and dove into a river, maybe the Nile, and became part fish, part goat. Or was he already part goat? See, I don't know, but I know it has something to do with Pan for sure. In any case, the sign of Capricorn is associated with the 10th house, and the 10th house in this case is about authority. Also read that has to do with career and business, things like this, ambition. So power, ambition, striving. You see this person that is climbing up the mountain, which is, mountain goat. And then there's this kind of mystical, dreamlike quality with the water, right? So the fish and the earth. So it's a creature of both land and sea. So that's something that's also that also gets kind of tied into Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by the planet Saturn, and we were just talking about Saturn last decan with the Ten of Wands, because that was the decan ruler for the last decan, but here it's the ruler of the sign of Capricorn and not necessarily the decan rulers of Capricorn. So let's get into a couple of my astrology books to find out a little bit more about Capricorn. So this is a book I often like to use. This is the guidebook for the Karma Cards set of astrology cards. That is a cards that were created by Monty Farber. And I have the old vintage version of this deck, but it is still available mass market. So let's read a little bit about Capricorn, because I really love this, like, this little guidebook, and it really is it's very much informed by the seasons. So Western traditional astrology and the seasons kind of very much mark the kind of personality type of a person with their sun sign in Capricorn. Well, all of the different zodiac signs that it goes over, because it really ties into that particular time of year. So I just want to read this to you, because I think it's really, for me, this just really summarized Capricorn and kind of what I've read about Capricorn in other places as well. But I like this. So Capricorn goes from, is Capricorn the goat. The symbol is a mountain goat with the tail of a fish. And it runs from December 22nd to January 20th. Dates are always slightly different depending on where you look. So the day the sun entered the sign of Capricorn marked the time of the winter solstice. So Capricorn is on the winter solstice usually. So it's the shortest, bleakest day of the year. But the next day, the sun began its northward climb, and with each succeeding midday sky, it moved toward the rebirth of spring. So Capricorn represents the crystallization of a dream, the fish's tail, into a real tangible thing by the application of hard work, the climbing goat, built on structure, the mountain. So we see that also here in the 10th house. Our ancestors knew that they could get through the deprivation of a hard winter, okay, because Capricorn is a cardinal sign, that is the first sign of the winter season. So we could get through a hard winter only by being disciplined and conservative in the truest sense of the word. So discipline, conservative, ambitious, all of these things are associated with Capricorn. So Capricorn rules crystallization, such as snowflakes. That's so interesting to me. I like that. And all that is apparently solid and permanent in this world of change. I love that the word change is in here, because as we'll see, our decan card has that in it as well. Or of the first decan of Capricorn anyway. It rules the conservative, disciplined climb to the top, keeping our passions in check. I find that really interesting too, as we'll see, because the tarot card, the major card that Capricorn is associated with, is the Devil card. So the parts of the body that are ruled by Capricorn, according to this book anyway, because you can find different associations kind of everywhere, are bones, teeth, skin, and nails, because they are solid structures which keep us together, and also the knees, because they must be rigid to hold us erect. So like if you're going to climb a mountain, you gotta have knees, right? So people born during the time of Capricorn function best when they can apply a dedicated, focused approach to the achievement of a goal whose value is recognized by society. So yeah, I mean, those are the other things that I've read about Capricorn, is this idea of achievement, ambition, authority, climbing the social ladder or the career ladder, motivation, dedication, focus, all of those things. And also because it's a cardinal sign at the beginning of a season, that means it has these types of leadership qualities too. There's one of the places I read talked about there being a stereotype of the businessman as Capricorn. So yeah, so let's look in my Library of Esoterica, the volume on astrology, so that we can look at a little bit more artwork and find out just a little bit more about Capricorn before we get into our decking card. Okay, so this is the Library of Esoterica astrology volume, which I've been using and showing you ever since I got it, maybe a few months ago. So we've had like, I don't know, I want to say since Leo season, we've been in here. So let's take a look at Capricorn. So you are not going to find a lot of text in this Library of Esoterica astrology volume. The majority of this is taken up by the artwork, okay? So let's look over here at our Capricorn. We talked about this already. December 22nd, January 19th, it shows you the glyph. We talked about it being, its natural house is the 10th house. The ruler is Saturn. It's the 10th sign. Duality is negative or feminine. Its element is earth. So Capricorn is an earth sign. So it's going to be associated with the pentacle suit in the tarot. The quality of this sign is cardinal. We already said that. It's the first in its season. The polarity is Cancer. So that means on the zodiac wheel, the exact opposite sign is Cancer. And the tarot card that is the major tarot card that is associated with is the Devil. And here we have the metal that is associated with is lead. I haven't really paid that much attention to the metal stuff, but maybe that'll mean something to me when I start to study alchemy one of these days. All right, so this is really cool because this goatfish, sea goat depiction is from Salvador Dali's lithographs, which I didn't know that he, and I should know, but he famously made lithographs of the 12 zodiac signs. So of course I had to, as soon as I realized that, I had to go look them up, and they're really, really cool. So I'm just going to flip through real quick of some of the depictions. And I want to read this quote about Capricorn. So cool. So the music of manifestation is the title of this particular chapter of Capricorn. Capricorn, because it's associated with the god Pan, there's music is also key to it. So this constellation, as the symbol of inertia and death, is also the symbol of awakening life and prepares the soul for the more perfect expression of its powers in its forthcoming upward journey. So that speaks to me of like, you know, the going up the mountain sort of thing, but I'm not sure about the inertia and death part. I don't know the story about how Capricorn became the constellation. Usually there's a myth that goes along with that. So I'll probably have to look into that to find out maybe a little bit more. Perfect expression of and prepares the soul for the more perfect expression of its powers in its forthcoming upward journey. This is truly the promise of a new day and higher state of existence. So yeah, a new day. So the winter solstice, that's what that means. That's how that makes that connection to me. So this is like, and why the first decan of Capricorn is also we'll see, it's the Two of Pentacles and the Lord of Change, or Lord of Harmonious Change, is the name given, the title given by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So that's interesting. The promise of a new day and the higher state of existence. So cool. And it goes on, you know, this book goes on to tell you more. Here are a few more depictions of Capricorn from this. These are some of the depictions from the from the Library of Esoterica astrology volume on Capricorn. So cool. I don't know what the jingle bells bit is about here and why there's smoke coming from his mouth. What is that about? Don't know. Maybe I'll find out. All right, let's get into the Decan card now. Okay, actually, before we get into the Decan card itself, let's talk about Capricorn and its relationship to the tarot card of the Devil, which is one of my favorite cards. I love the Death card. I love the Devil card. Maybe I have a little bit of a dark side. But so we have our Capricorn card here, and then we have our Devil card from the Waite Smith. You can see it's, talks about the Capricorn sign being cardinal earth, and that is associated with the 10th house. And we have our very iconic devil imagery with the figure. I mean, I guess, there's so many different ways to interpret the devil, which is why I brought out a bunch of other cards. I brought out from the Hermetic Tarot, the Devil card, which has our Hermetic title on it, which is so cool. And the Hermetic title for the Devil is the Lord of the Gates of Matter, which I think is really amazing. I do not know. I mean, it has that's Saturn's glyph. That's the glyph for Mars. And then that's interesting. And then it has the Capricorn sign here, a bat. There's like all kinds of really cool, weird stuff happening here. So I'll have to dig into the little white book here and try to find out more about the Hermetic Tarot. But the Lord of the Gates of Matter. Wow. So like it is I think that's what makes sense for the Thoth depiction, which is like, it's pretty apparent what this is supposed to represent. We have our goat buddy here, but it's really like, it's the seeds of life. And, it's very phallic. I mean, it's not just very phallic. It's like is a phallus, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And, without being too like junior high about things, like that's what I think it's like, it's like life creation forces are happening here. But beyond that, there's so much more. The Tarot and Astrology book by Corin Kenner talks about how the Devil card is also associated with the Celtic god Cernunnos. I'm not Cernunnos. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but this is the Druid Craft Tarot, and this I believe is a depiction of Cernunnos or Cernunnos, which you see here. So that's why I brought that out. And then this is from the Greenwich Tarot, and I always have really, really loved this particular depiction of the Devil card, which in this deck is called Nature, and it has these like satyrs in the background, which is another, it's that kind of call back to Pan as well as other, in other particular, I don't know if I want to say like in other cultures, religions, mythologies, legends, stories, what have you. So those tie-ins are all there. And Baphomet, I think, is who is depicted on the Rider-Waite Smith, I believe. So my first step really was to kind of like reconcile how Capricorn, this particular sign that is associated with like achievement and ambition and motivation and striving forward and focus and dependability, is associated with the different, the myriad of different ways that you can interpret the Devil card. So the Devil as being temptation, or the Devil as being something, dark and sinister, or something being part of like our true nature, or indulgence. That's that whole idea with, the god Pan, who was also associated with Dionysus and, indulgence and food and wine and music and that kind of thing. So I think that's where that comes from. The idea of the devil in Christianity, though, is sin and temptation and the fall from grace and that kind of thing. So how does that like match up with our Capricorn, right? So I see the pan thing going in there. I do see this Lord of the Gates of Matter, this like kind of new renewed life, new season, right? Because we're starting the new season in the winter. So that kind of piece comes together. So I'm just, you guys, I'm walking through it here. I think that is another, I'm not sure much about the Carnunos and how that, but I'm sure it has a lot. There's definitely things that have to do with nature. And I think in the Green Witch, it talks about that too in the guidebook, but I didn't read those. I'm just kind of like, or I haven't read those recently, but I'm kind of just sort of pulling this together. So there was also a bit in Corinne Kenner's write-up about Capricorn and the Devil card with that like stereotype of like a greedy businessman and like, capitalism and stuff, and that like sort of shadow side of ambition, moving into like greed, which also, that's part of like a sin sort of thing. So I kind of see how all of these ideas maybe overlap, and you can draw some connections between the Devil and Capricorn. So I see it. Capricorn seems in some ways to be the antithesis of the Devil, but it also seems to be very partnered with some ideas of how we would interpret the Devil. So yeah, that's kind of where I landed with all of this. And I thought it was just really cool to bring out some cards to show you Capricorn, the Devil. Now let's talk about our decan card. Okay, now officially welcome to the first decan of Capricorn, which is Jupiter in Capricorn. And here we have our decan card, which is the Two of Pentacles. So Jupiter in Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign, like we already talked about. Capricorn is the first sign of the winter season here in the Northern Hemisphere. And it runs from, so the decan runs from December 22nd until December 30th. So starting with the winter solstice and going kind of through till the new calendar year, which I think is really fascinating about this particular card. So our Two of Pentacles, and this is the Lord of Harmonious Change, which is our Hermetic title for the card. And we have our very iconic, well, I always say the Waite-Smith is iconic, but it's our juggler, who with our lemniscate and the Two Pentacles and the weird hat in front of the rolling waves with our ships in the background. So there's so much to say about the Two of Pentacles. More often than not, this is a card about balance, very, frequently read as balancing priorities, balancing work and play. There is a playful element to it because of the juggler and it being a stage card, right? So it's staged. And it also, it's about that, kind of quite simply like juggling too many things at once, and the divinatory meaning is about getting your priorities in balance and making a choice, which is often what we see in twos. Anyway, so that's the Two of Pentacles in the Waite-Smith. We talked about Capricorn pretty deeply already now with our Devil and the various different ways that you can interpret the Devil card as releasing your true nature and letting go of taboos, which is my favorite way to interpret the Devil card, which could be its reverse meaning. A lot of people often read the Devil as being chained, and because there's literal, prisoners chained to the Devil in this card. There's an association with the Devil card and the Lovers card with the two figures on it. So there's that. There's, you know, that whole Christian idea of the devil and sin and fall from grace. There's also, yeah, the idea of temptation and indulgence, as we saw with Pan. So, you know, I'm repeating myself now. But now in this decan, because we have two major cards, right? So Capricorn is the devil, but we have Jupiter in Capricorn. So Jupiter, as we have seen before, is associated with the Wheel of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune, one of my favorite ideas, but least favorite depictions in the tarot. I don't know, I just always find the wheel kind of boring. Anyway, but so we have our 4 fixed signs, we have our wheel, the Jupiter and the wheel. I mean, it's often, you know, we've talked about this, and many of you already have very, you know, kind of fixed associations with your major cards. But it's about, you know, good luck, bad luck, being on the wheel. You have no control. It's like a release of control of your own fortune, right? Your destiny, and so on and so forth. But it's often seen as a very positive card because the planet of Jupiter is one of abundance and expansion. So we see that here in the Star Codes Astro Oracle. All right, let's look at the Thoth. Okay, and so here we have the depictions from the Thoth Tarot, which I haven't brought out and talked about in detail in a hot minute. So we talked about our Devil card, and it's very clear depiction of what it is. But for Crowley, for the Golden Dawn, there's a lot, you know, a lot going on here about like the creation of life, right? And the seeds of life. And in our 2 of Pentacles, or sorry, our 2 of Discs, in the Thoth Tarot, we have one of my favorite cards, I gotta say, in the Thoth. I love this card, and I think of it as the little Wheel of Fortune. I really do. Here's our Fortune card. And I brought out my girl, Angelus Arian, who is probably my favorite book of tarot that works with the Thoth, is the Tarot Handbook. This is like a giant book, Angelus Arian. So Angelus Arian says, the 2 of Discs represents change. The Ouroboros snake that eats its own tail reminds us that change is the only constant, and it is cyclic. So that idea, you know, it comes from the Wheel of Fortune too. That's embedded here, I think, in the 2 of Discs, with the Ouroboros, with the wheel itself, you know. She goes on to say, for purposes of rebalancing that which is out of balance. Okay, so that's still that idea that we see in Waite Smith pops in there too, right? So the things that are out of balance, I'll put this guy up here. The serpent is making the number 8, right? Which is the number for balance and adjustment. I really love Angelus Arian. Like, she says things that I feel like are just, they are this really good like amalgamation of all these different kinds of ideas. That's why I dig her. Okay, so she goes on to say, change is for the purpose of expanding our awareness. I feel that that's Jupiter energy, which is symbolized by the crown on the snake's head. Change is also for the purpose of revealing to us that which is knowable and that which is unfamiliar, which is represented by the black and white serpent. The black and white serpent is the representation of the yin-yang symbol. So we have our yin-yang symbols, which is associated with the principle of unifying opposites. The 2 of Discs represents tangible changes that can be pointed to in the external reality, which is reflected by the yin-yang symbols that are horizontally on their sides. The vertical yin-yang symbol indicates internal change, whereas the horizontal yin-yang symbol indicates external change. So internal, external. Interesting. Or maybe I have that backwards. The change that is represented here is also elemental, because within the yin yang symbols, the old alchemical symbols of the elements of earth, fire, and water and air are drawn in their triangular shapes. So, oh my gosh, you'd have to look really, really closely. Let me bring it up to the camera. Like, so you can see the elemental symbols there inside. How cool is that? So it's an elemental change as well. I feel like that speaks to the changing of the season and that like kind of starting over feeling that we have. And also because it's coming from, and Susan Chang talks about this too, because the Two of Pentacles decan is coming from the Ten of Wands. And in the Ten of Wands, we had Saturn was the ruler of that decan, right? And we said that's, and Jupiter was the ruler of the sign of Sagittarius. Now we have it flip-flopped. Saturn is the ruler of the sign of Capricorn, but Jupiter is the ruler of this decan. And that is, Susan Chang pointed out, the only time that that happens in the 36 decans, from one decan to the next, where you have a flip-flop of decan ruler and sign ruler that goes that way. If that makes sense to you guys, I hope. So then Angela's Arian talks about the astrological aspect of this card is Jupiter in Capricorn. This expansive, positive, opportunistic change, Jupiter, that is also stable, solid, and secure, which is Capricorn. So that's cool. That makes sense. I like it. I really like that with the Thoth depiction. I feel like it's that stability is what we see in Capricorn. Now, I'm still not entirely entirely reconciled the idea of Capricorn, like that side of Capricorn, the stability, the focus, the determination with the devil. But maybe, I mean, Corinne Kenner talks a little bit about like this drive for power and this rulership over what is earthly, and that's Saturn. I mean, because the world card is Saturn, which is, you know, it's earth, it's everything earthly, it's the world. So yeah, I mean, maybe that comes in there as well. Let me pull just a few other from a few other decks so that we can see some different depictions of the Two of Pentacles. So here we have our depictions from the Hermetic Tarot. We saw our Devil, which is the Lord of the Gates of Matter, and our Wheel of Fortune, which is the Lord of the Forces of Life. Wow, like that's a really cool idea, these two coming together, and it's the Lord of Harmonious Change. So you can see that, like, I mean, I guess I do see that balance of like those forces of the gates of matter, like what makes people, what makes things earthly, because it can be that, like, that drive, that force, that ambition, that striving, that motivation, but also that like temptation, that indulgence, that like human, like that humanity, like that real humanity. And then the Lord of the Forces of Life, the spinning wheel, the like fate, the destiny, the unknown, you know, things like that. I'm like waving too much in front of the camera. And when those things come together, we have our, you know, our Ouroboros, right? And we have what is happening here, like some clouds and some crosses and some other symbols going on inside, which is really cool. But Jupiter, Capricorn, for sure. Those are our two signs. Let's look and see what some of my other decks have. Okay, here we go. These are from the 8th House Tarot. And we have our, well, let's start with Capricorn, because man, that is a intense devil card. Wow, it says the word vice in the back. So this is very Waite Smith, I guess. There's fiery chains, and this like really kind of devilish, like freaky horned character. So the idea of like nature and that kind of thing isn't in here. This seems like it's very much in the realm of temptation, addiction, indulgence, being imprisoned and to something not good, negative. And then Jupiter we've looked at before, which I always love this card. I love the looks like a Ferris wheel in the back and the dice in the front. I love the rolling of the dice. You never know what's going to happen. Here we have our Two of Earth, Two of Discs, Two of Pentacles, Jupiter in Capricorn. This is very earthy with our leaves, and we have this forest backdrop, and we do have that sense of juggling, but it is very much, it's very wintry in this case as well, which I kind of like, but fog, winter, snow, I like that. And I think that this kind of adds in that seasonal element a little bit. And also I think it's a nod to the juggling, but it's very much a nod to this being an earth sign, which I dig. I kind of dig that. All right, so there you guys have it. I don't really think I've landed really solidly like I have before in the past of understanding how these two forces of the Wheel of Fortune and the Devil come together in the Two of Pentacles. I do see threads, and I sort of understand different bits and pieces coming from astrology, coming from the Golden Dawn, coming from, these different places, and my own understanding of the Two of Pentacles. But I'm kind of just still putting it all together. And I do love, though, the idea of the movement from the last decan into this one, from the movement of the Ten of Wands into the Two of Pentacles. And I especially love, the idea of harmonious change. And that's kind of what I want to run with through these next 10 days. That's the theme that I want to kind of live with and sit with in my own personal self-growth work, which this is all about. What this is all about for me is learning more about myself and what these decans mean to me, not necessarily only during those 10 days, but whenever this card comes up in one of my readings or a reading that I may do for somebody else. Change is scary, and change can also be really good. At this point in time, in the year, change might be something that we are all looking forward to, or maybe fearing. So it can be that duality of things as well. And so, as always, keeping in mind the idea of change, there's going to be, as always, a tarot spread that I've created for you that you can find in a PDF version in the description box down below. So I hope this was informative. It's really just sort of me sorting out my own ideas as I learn alongside all of you. I hope it helped you kind of come to grips with this idea of the Lord of harmonious change and how to kind of let a new day dawn in the beginning of the winter solstice, and to climb that mountain, keep going forward. We're gonna visit with Capricorn more, so we'll be definitely learning more about Capricorn's influence in this particular 3 decans. So again, thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful first decan of Capricorn and a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.